Okay, so for Eku, what we decided to do was to record everything, or not record, put everything in one folder for the core roots. The reason for this is that everything is then available to everyone who wants to view it, and then if you do planning, only one person will be responsible for the core roots, so they'll kind of oversee everything. Then if someone needs a core root from a specific pop, everything will be what I've done is I have separated the pops per area, so you can actually go and add Forslure Rus here, just so that we've got all of the planning there and we can work off of that. Okay, so for the Cutleon pop, what I've done is I've added the core network here with the KML. The PDF we can always update later. Today we're just going to make some small changes to the KML. So on this KML, what I've done is we've got the polygons, and then under polygons we've got a built and planned section. So built is what we have already put up, and this will allow you to track what's like I said, being built, and then what's been planned can change. So you just need to make sure to keep up to date with this this KML, and it will allow you to keep very good track of the core network. It's also easy to add a section that has been planned. You can just draw built or planned. You can just draw a polygon on it during the planning phase. Okay, so what's happened here is we've got a pop with a trenched root coming out, and we have 3 core cables running in that trenched root up to here, and then further they go as aerial roots. What we need to do now is we need to do the patching diagram for this for these roots, and to do this we need to go to our pop folder, and we've got a core allocations document here which we still need to finish setting up, and we have a Cutleon pop patching plan. Okay, so for these core allocations, I'm just going to rename it correctly. Cutleon pop core allocations, and then we have revision 1. Okay, so the way to use these core allocations is to go to your file, and you actually need to also just go to the planning that you are looking or going to be looking at using. What we also need to do is probably just name the cable. So here's a core allocation for core cable 1. Since we've got more than one core cable coming out of the pop, so for core cable 1, we need to go and look at the KML, and you'll notice that we've got core cable 1 over here. So core cable 1 will then be the one going up to Tukoza and Eden Park. So what we can do is, when editing the core cable, or well, the core allocations, we need to go to the planning for this area. So we've got Tukoza zone 1, and over here we've got our splicing diagrams. So looking at the splicing diagram for feeder cable 1, and we have to fix this firstly, since there has been some changes on the planning. We've got core cable 1, so let's just change this to core cable 1, like that. So fiber 129 has been allocated here, and you see that we've also got some spares allocated. Okay, that means that we can allocate for Tukoza zone 1 onto the core cable 1 section. Now, what we thought previously was that there would be an additional 288. So the 288 would come out of the POP, and then over here it would be split amongst 2 or 3 cables. But that's not the case at the moment. What they did was they pulled in 144 cable for each of these cores. So we're not going to need this section, and we can just remove it, and we're going to be running for core cable 1. So what we can do here is we can actually come and remove everything of this first section, delete it, and we're going to be running Tukoza zone 1. Okay, something else that you need to keep into account is we still have these splitters here, but now we're going to have splitter IDs change, and they're going to start here from 1, since it's going to be for the 1 fiber head. So this will be splitter 2001, and just what we want to do is copy this across, since it's going to be one area, and over here we are also only going to have this core cable 1. So copy this all the way down, paste. So core cable 1 is all we need there, and what we can do now is just create a correct label here. Okay, what I like to do is I like to just say equals, and I want to take the right 3 letters. So I'm going to type right, I'm going to select this, I'm going to say equals, or no wait, not equals, comma, and 3, because it's the right 3 numbers. Then I also want to add 1 to it, so +1. So what we've got here is the 2, but we want it to be shown as 3 numbers. So even if it's 2, we want the 2 zeros at the front to also show. So we type text and we go to the end of this line and we add text 000, and if we close the bracket here, we've got the 002. But what's also missing is the SP2 dash. So if you go SP2 dash and you add it here, that's almost what you need. But if we add it as text, we've got everything we need. So that can just be pulled down and you'll have splitter 1 1, splitter 2 2, 3 3, and so on. So just notice that I've added the +1 pointing to here. So if we just remove this, you're going to have an error because you see it's just every second line. So if you want to start off with a different number, you can just start off with 5 or whatever, and you just need to add it to the second line as well, and it will continue like that. Okay, so moving on, we have the feeder layer. Now looking at the splicing diagram, we have the same info, or we need to have the same info here. So this will be 001, and I'm just going to put them side by side, and we can just copy this section going to splitter 9, or up to splitter 9. Let's paste these values and we've got the 9 there. Okay, so all of these splitters have been allocated there then, and if we look at the feeder layer is already matching. We've done that in the past, but when looking at the patching diagram, Mattel will want us to add the AG numbers, and I don't think handles are necessary. So what I've done is I've added the AG numbers over here. I've actually started to do this, but the easy way of getting this info is going to be off of your core allocations. So looking at your core allocation sheet, we just need to make sure that we do have the AG numbers here. We don't need the full AG number, so you can just remove this section, or you can use that right function that I used when I did the splitter numbering. If we go right and whoops, allocate this, we want the last 4 letters, and yeah, I haven't changed this to work with commas yet. I recently formatted, but if we are going to use this and drag it down, you see that we've got the correct section there. Just paste the text and remove all of these formulas, and there you go. So a little trick I picked up when I started to do these patch plans was that you can actually go and merge these 2 lines, and if you go equals this, and with a text section, so let's make it comma, space, and then and this one together, you actually get the splitter numbers very easily. So if you just copy this all the way down, you have everything over here, your direct spares and even your allocations for MDUs. So all you need to do now is copy this and paste it as values. Once you've pasted it as values, go and select filter and remove all of the blanks at the bottom. Now all you need to do is just select these and you can copy them into your patching diagram, and now, or your patch plan, and now you've got all of these values here. You can just manually change the spares, and it's easy enough to just manually do these as well, but if you do them here already, you can use the same principle to just get your allocations of the areas that you want to do. Then after you're done, you can just delete this, and you can even leave these here just to use them in the future if you need to. Okay. Working on that, what you can do is just go to all of your feeder cables and make sure that your allocations are correct. So just match them up. Since we need to start from fiber 1, you just need to change these to correspond. So what I suggest you do is make sure that you've copied in your feeder cables and your allocations, and then do your allocations over here. Make sure your aggregation and manual numbers or pole numbers are correct. We can maybe even do this. Pole or manhole. Let's see. Okay. That's something we need to change in the drop down sheet. So this is going to be pole, or we can have a, oh wait, no, all of these will be allocations on handholds. So I can just go to the side and change this to a handle. Okay. So once you've done all of this and you have allocated everything over here, making sure that you've added the AGs as well, you're going to have duplicates here, so you can maybe work something into a folder that just removes the duplicates, or you can even just manually remove any duplicates. Like if there's two AG2s, you can remove them here. Next thing you want to do is make sure that you have put your core cable over here. So looking at your patching diagram, you can just come down, and this will all be on core cable 1. Let's do it like this now. Copy again as text. Okay, so there's your core locations. You can even copy it down actually, since it's all going up to fiber 144. Now one thing that I like to do is I like to have everything on one page, because they print it out and they put it in the pop, and it's going to be better if it's just on one page. So if you get the sizing correct here, you end up with everything on the single page. Okay. Next thing to keep in mind is the pop name and the pop address. There's not a specific address for this pop at the moment. And then you can also add the fibers that are going to be feeding from this cable. So here we're going to have Tokoza Zone 1, and we're also going to have Eden Park. Oops. So it's just a good thing to add them, and then you can, or well, the technician on site can look at this and get all of the data there. Okay, then next thing we need to do is do allocations for the OLT. So your OLT will start with OLT number 1, line card number 1, and port number 0. Now, what you need to do, just keep in mind, is when you do these allocations that you don't over allocate a single port. So if you're looking at everything here, you want to start off at 110, but if you've got different core cables, you need to go and look for the latest allocation and then continue your allocations from over here. Okay, so OLT detail, we'll start off with fiber, or well, OLT line card 1, or well, yeah, port 0, and you're going to have splitter panel 1 with a split ratio of 1 to 2, and splitter number 1, port number 1. Then on this you'll have another line. Let me just copy and paste text only, or values only. So this is the allocation for this one splitter panel port. So you're going to have line card port 0, it's going to be plugged into splitter 1, and you're going to have 2 ports on splitter 1. So one line is going to be feeding these 2 fibers. So you have 4 splitters feeding from one OLT port. Then what you can do is you can just move on to the next one, and everywhere where there is an allocation, you just continue on with the numbering scheme. So I'm gonna have 1, 1, 1, no wait, split it 2, 2, 1 and 2, and so on. So these will just be feeding on. Shortcut to doing this is copying this section. Just keep in mind the formatting here. That's why I'm copying or doing one section manually and then just copying the sections below. Sure. Okay, so they end up here. So I'll just paste as text, and you just keep your formatting that way. Then you're going to have a 3 and a 3, 4 and 4, 5 and 5, 6, 6, and it's just going to go on like that. What you can also do is you can, from the first one, just start equals 2 up and you plus 1, and then you copy this down to where the end is and you paste the formula only. Okay, now when you're doing a splitter panel, a two-way splitter panel has 24 splitters on it, so you need to start from 1 here and it will just autocorrect that way, so it's going to end up at 18 here. Now these will stay the same because we're only using two-way splitter panels, and we're going to be on splitter panel 1 up to here, and then we're going to be on splitter panel 2 from over here. Oops. So just pasting that. Okay. Moving on to the OLT, we can actually go and copy this formula that we used over here and paste it. Going down, we can paste this here as well. Oh, I made a mistake. This should be paste formula. Okay. So, with a line card, you start at port 0, but you end at port 15 because there are actually 16 ports on a OLT. Since you need to start at 0, you need to end at 15 to allocate 16 ports. So starting again at 0 over here, moving down, and then we've got a 0 over here and moving down. So this is fairly easy. Just going to copy this down, paste text only, just to keep the formatting correct. Then we're going to have a 2 and a 1. Copy this again, and we can have a 1 and a 3 over here. Okay. So now next time you need to do allocations, you can just start from 1, 3, 10 to 19, 1. And yeah, that's how easy it is to do a patching plan. It can end up being a bit more difficult, so sorry. I know that someone at Vumatel asked that we start allocating line card number 1 at AG 35 or 37. I can't remember exactly, but once you've done all of these AG allocations, you can easily see that, and then what you'll just need to do is start with splitter panel 1 over here, do those allocations, or well, not splitter panel 1, line card 1. You can keep the splitter panels the same, it just keeps it uniform and makes it easier to do the patching from the feeder panel to the actual patch panel. But from the patch panel to the line card, it is a lot easier to mix and match. So if you need to allocate line card 1, you can just start allocating it where you need to start allocating it. So you'll start with 1, 1, 0 over here, and what I suggest in that case is just deleting all of the line card and port numbers. It rarely happens that you'll have a OLT number that's more than 1. Some POPs do have 2 OLTs, but those are very rare, so you don't need to really worry about them, and it might also end up being easier to just come and ask me if you're unsure about multiple pops, but I really do not think that you'll ever need to use that. Okay.